I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really a big fan of Cordy Ryan. Mostly because the only reason I'm pretty sure she's successful is because she's an attractive young lady. She doesn't really say anything that ever pushes the envelope or delivers any greater sense of like understanding of problems or like the world in general. It's mostly just a woman saying, "Hey guys, here's how you look better. I'm gonna teach you how to be." Well, not really. I mean, she mostly is mostly still only talking about men's issues anyway. There may be some tips from like time to time on like how to be more attractive, but I feel like that kind of misses the point of what it means to be a man. One of the most important avenues of like being a good person, having a good character. In fact, the shallowness of the world does not contribute to people being happier. It actually contributes to people being more miserable. And it's really interesting to me that, despite the fact that we constantly see like this push and this desire to be more beautiful has only ever hurt women, we then see that and we are like, okay, so let's try to get men to do it too. But wait a minute, haven't women spent like literally years of their lives talking about their unrealistic expectations and standards and how there's too much pressure for them and they feel they have to spend so much money and makeup and they hate the way they look without it and there's such an over focus on it they feel like that's their only value? Yes, let's do that to men too. So anyway, so she made this video where it's actually really long, but I'm not going through all of it because there's only a couple of points I really do need to get through, where she is talking about how a lot of women, the whole 80-20 thing, a lot of women on dating apps don't find most men attractive. So she goes on to cite two very important things. One, which will be our major focus, is the fact that a lot of men, despite the fact that they may actually be attractive or to average, don't do a really good job of taking good photos in order to reflect their attractiveness. And the other part is the same thing I think most people are saying is what I'm saying, which I'll put here. Someone asked me to make a video about online dating, and the only thing that ever needs to be said about online dating is if you haven't been on there since the inception, and even then, there's no point to using these apps unless you're extraordinary. And the reason why is quite a literal statistical number game. There's not enough women to facilitate the amount of men on these apps. Meaning that if every woman paired off with a man, just one man on that app, there are men that will never find a match. The only way for it to be sustainable is for women to match with multiple different men and have multiple relationships with men. Now, ironically, this is what happens, but from the reverse. It's not that the small, or smaller rather, group of women are having multiple relationships with all of the men here, but only a smaller subsection of the men that they want, which colors their perception of all men on the app and all men just like in general. So that's a clear distillation as to why you shouldn't date online. There's not enough women to facilitate a balanced, healthy view or a balanced way that will get you a result. You will probably never find someone. Not because you did anything wrong. Maybe you are ugly, and that might be the case. Even if you're not ugly, you may legitimately just never have your profile shown to a woman point blank period. Not because you did anything wrong. You could have done everything right and it still won't pop up. And so the incentivization of some of these applications as well is to pay for spotlight in order to push you through the algorithm so you can be shown at all. If you're not doing that, you may not be getting seen in anything. And the algorithms of these sites, ironically, push more desirable men up to the front, which makes you think that maybe they want to facilitate this. But I digress. The point is, it is a gigantic waste of time from the sheer numbers. There's just too many men on online dating websites to facilitate a way for each of them to be able to find a woman to be with. It's just impossible just by the numbers. Game, set, match. All the other socialization part where the women think that the men are too ugly or not attractive enough, I mean, that's like a whole bunch of salt in the wound, like a lot of salt in the wound, like to just be like most men just aren't attractive, just off rip, right? Which is interesting enough as it is. But just by that number, it's not possible. So it becomes really goofy or really interesting that this is kind of like the way Courtney is arguing this. Instead of her simply saying that this is an exercise in futility to the highest degree, just based on the statistic numbers alone, she instead opts out that saying that maybe some of you niggas ain't trying hard enough. If you don't believe me, let's start off with this earlier section here. Now again, to be respectful to her, she does say a point that I've said, that other people have said, that women just have a whole bunch of different options on there. She does offer that tidbit here, but there's also this section here where she talks about the photos that was really interesting and kind of goofy to me. Let's play it.
I mean, I've even had men submit their profiles to me for videos in the past where I went through their profiles and told them what maybe they could do better, or where they were struggling, or where they were doing a really good job. And something I saw commonly was a lot of these guys are attractive guys. I mean, 6, 7, 8, but their photos are where they really struggle. I think a lot of guys have a very hard time with photos. So you could even be an attractive guy, and if you're not the best at taking photos, that makes you look less attractive on your dating profile.
Now, to me, it's really, really, really interesting that this is a point of contention or criticism, because it is a bit of a contradiction, right? If you can ascertain that these men are attractive based on their bad photos, then why would they need to take good photos? It's not the why would they need to take good photos, but it would appear that if you can say these guys are 7s, 8s, 9s, you can recognize they're attractive. You can recognize they look good. How is there a problem with their photo? They had to have sent you their photos. So that means you saw them, you saw they were attractive, but then said their photos looked bad. Which, of course, is probably true. Probably a lot true, because not everyone's a photography major. I'm not going to take that away from you, that they took bad photos. But it seems like you were still able to ascertain the greater truth of what these people looked like in their pictures. So something ain't really adding up there, just from that point alone. But the thing that becomes really interesting, or at least really goofy, is the fact that, like, it just means that no matter how you slice it, this is something that's just really shallow and just really vapid in principle. It is, in principle, just about your ability to take photos and photograph yourself and then catch the eyes and attention of people. It is kind of just like shopping as a product. But then, if you couple that with what I said before, you could do all that and still never have your profile show up, because you're just one of many people there.
On that topic, as someone who has looked at a lot of your profiles and as someone who was on dating apps in the past, I know that there are a lot of attractive guys out there, or guys who are just average, a little bit above average, who just don't know their angles. They don't know how to look flattering in a photo, or they're like standing in a weird way, posing a weird way, holding the camera down below so that you're like enhancing your double chin. Photography is like an art form, right? I mean, I know my angles. There are certain angles where I don't look as pretty. I know what angles I look good in. I take all my Instagram photos from the same angle because I think I look the best that way. It's like a whole thing, a talent to really know the angles that you look the best in. So if you don't know that, and you're a guy who is just average on a dating app, average on top of not taking good photos of yourself, dunzo.
Now, the reason why I remark this as goofy is because you don't talk to people by only looking at a particular angle. That is goofy. That's stupid. Usually when you talk to people, you're like head on. You're looking into their eyes. You're face to face. You're not like looking at a particular. Oh wait, hold on. Let me hold on. You don't go to a restaurant and sit on the side of the chair. Hold on. When you took that picture, you were looking like. Hold on. There it is. Okay. Now we can continue to talk. You don't do that. That's stupid. You don't talk to people by focusing on their angles. So why would you judge a person's attractiveness based on a picture, based on a highly curated picture that's perfectly crafted or created to reflect or to try to advertise themselves? That's what modeling is for. That's why models look so beautiful. That's why models are then photoshopped. Even apart from just being attractive, they're then further photoshopped a lot of the time. Again, it's a fantasy, right? You got bought into a fan, but that's not actually the person. And again, you're not criticizing the media. You're not criticizing the issue that this is a fantasy of a person that you're putting here. To tell someone to focus on their angles and look good and whatnot does not reflect the actual person, what they actually look like. It's nonsensical. And you're always going to be disappointed because you talk to people straight on. Now, to be fair, I mean, like I'm a tall person, so like I look down on people sometimes. So like they'll be looking up to me. That angle, you might get that angle, right? You know, in person. But typically this whole best angle thing for picture, I mean, it's great for photography. It's nonsensical for relationships. You don't interact with people on angles and stuff, and it sounds like autistic or like overly critical, but the point isn't, which I hope you guys grasp. I'm going to explain it because there's always that one guy. The point isn't to say you can't use photography to enhance a picture, and the point isn't to say that angles are goofy and silly and frivolous, although they are. That's not really the point. The point is that if you're judging a person based on a highly curated image, you will always fail to ascertain what they really look like. You failed off jump. You've been tricked from the beginning. From the very inception of your relationship, this is a lie. That's not what that person looks like. That's not who they are. And so then this is where the problem of the representative comes in. I've alluded to this on many different occasions, but the representative is your best foot forward to convince someone to like you, right? You're not always going to be in top condition at every point in time. And what happens with a lot of women, it's particularly a women thing, and this happens to men too, particularly women, is when you fail to meet that expectation, her attraction tapers off, and eventually she's like, ugh, why are you here? I don't care about you. You're not that person, you're not that image, you're not that guy you were before. This is also actually how a lot of women end up finding themselves in abusive relationships. They get caught on the image or the surface of a person, on their perfect representation, and they never actually went deeper to affirm the person's actual character. And so, again, we're talking about the the comment is like, you're surprised at like how looking good, like no shit. But the problem is that's not you. That's you in the most optimal curated state. That's you in an that's you as an advertisement, but it's not you as a person. It's not who you really are as an individual. And that's the person that you actually have to date and have relationships with. And you'll notice that again, as we typically do, we're focusing on just getting to the door. Not actually relating to women, not actually talking to women, not actually being friends with these people or understanding them or relating to them. This is just to get to the door. What do you do when you get there to the threshold? It's silly. It's silly, and it's very frivolous.
And again, I don't say that to be mean or harsh. I'm just being really honest. So then someone commented and said, a lot of guys are indeed unattractive and present themselves online even worse. It's a combination of not putting effort into their appearance and not knowing how to take a good picture. You'd be surprised what a difference good clothes and a haircut plus proper angles and lighting can make. Most guys don't know or don't care about that or think it's gay. And then this person says, yeah, I'll admit that. To this day, I still don't feel like taking selfies because it always felt uncharacteristically vapid or like, ugh, this is what women do, not me. We also aren't big on stopping the action to take group photos or to ask one of our guy friends to take a solo photo of us, so many men tend to not have many great photos to choose from. I've said it before and I'll say it again, splurge on a professional photographer, get some business pics and some casual pics. Yeah.
Now, you would think that this is actually a little bit, again, I know I keep saying it's goofy and silly, but it's like, in order to be on a dating profile, you need to go buy a professional photographer just so you can advertise on Tinder and Bumble. Not because you're trying to be an actor and you need like a headshot or something like that, which would be very important. Not because you need a business card, not because, but because you want to look good to women on Tinder. Because there's just so many different, more attractive dudes on there. And it's again, you're trying to make something that doesn't work rather than getting rid of the system. The system itself, which probably isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Well, I mean, for your personal life, you can just not use the apps at all. You really shouldn't, just the sheer number of men on there, as I said at the beginning of the video. But you're trying to make something that doesn't work, and it doesn't work. it's not functional. This does not make women happy. For as much as they may pick these handsome men, but they don't stick with them a lot of the time. And if they do stick with them, it's just total happenstance that he was an alright guy to be with. Most of the time, like, women, they're not concerned with actual character. So it's like, you're doing all this for a system that is not functional. But then, so let's wrap it up with something I thought was actually really interesting. Let's go right here.
In a lot of my videos, I give you guys suggestions on things you can do to elevate your appearance or to make yourself a more attractive version of yourself. I don't want you guys to be someone that you're not or to like feel like a totally different person. But even me, there are things that I do personally to make myself more attractive. I have a personal trainer that I work out with 3 days a week. I get my hair done. I wax and tweeze my eyebrows. I go to the dentist twice a year to get my teeth cleaned and make sure everything's looking good. I use really expensive skincare products. I get facial treatments done. I mean, there are so many things that I do personally to make myself look better, and I know that so many other women do that as well.
And so all the things that Courtney is saying here are all luxury items, right? Working out 3 times a week with a personal trainer is an expense that and just time being consumed that you're not going to have if you actually have a job. Or you're going to have to find a personal trainer, that's going to work with your schedule. If you actually work, 9 to 5, you're not doing that. You just don't have the time, or rather time plus money to invest in a personal trainer, which, to be honest with you, just don't need. I mean, honestly, you don't need a personal trainer. And the only good thing a personal trainer would be good for is to help you remain consistent by talking to you and reminding you to go do something. But the trainer themselves, you don't need. There's an overwhelming abundance of knowledge and information on exercise on the internet you can find when you're on your own. But it's a luxury item. It's just luxury. You don't need it. You straight up don't need it. Getting your hair done, luxury. Don't need it. You're like engaged to be, or you're about to be married. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You're getting your hair done for what? Just to look pretty, to look good. It's very shallow, right? Just facts. Even the personal training to exercise, you're not trying to find the upper echelon of human strength. You're not trying to perform feats. You're not trying to really be active to accomplish anything. You just want to be pretty. You just want to be attractive. That's all you're doing. It's vapid. It's surface level. It's nothing deep to it. All this stuff is luxury. I mean, now the dentist, totally reasonable. There's no problem there. You could have began and end with that one and it would just be perfect. But then you go on to talk about getting your skin, getting a skin routine and skincare. Again, when you're actually working hard, when you're actually doing stuff, you're not going to be spending money or spending time on skincare. Because the reason why is because you're actually working with your hands and you need the calluses. You can't have your skin be that soft or you get cut too easily. There's as a man, as a woman, what's interesting, not only are you saying luxury things that you get as a woman, but you also have to add that all of this stuff here, again, all this skin stuff is surface level. The incentive is clear, obviously. It's for your YouTube channel, so you look beautiful, you get more people to continue to get more success. That's obvious. A to B to C makes sense. But this is luxury. This is fluff. This isn't the actual person that you're having a relationship with. This is all just surface nonsense here. You don't need any of that, except a dentist. You don't need to go to a dentist. Dentist is perfectly fine. Personal trainer, skincare, getting my hair done. You're trying to look all pretty, and you're doing this so you can attract other men to your channel, which, by the way, I don't like it. I'll be honest with you. In principle, you're with some dude. You're with your husband or soon-to-be husband, trying to maintain a physical beauty to advertise yourself to other men. It doesn't really matter what you're trying to do. It's not righteousness. You're not actually trying to spread a message of doing good and being a better person. It's surface level. My issue here, I have plenty of issues and criticisms, but again, what you're focusing on is luxury sales that aren't actually addressing the problem. And the actual problem that needs to be addressed is that men are not good enough for being men. Men have to always strive and go the distance to be the bare minimum, to be acceptable. Least they are not important at all. But none of this stuff is actually towards the things that made man great to begin with. Man was not great simply because he exercised. It was because he used the strength he had to build things, or to fight for people, or to protect people, or to create something. Man is not a pretty object to be ogled at. But man, for what we are valued as tools, produce great things. And that tool should be respected and maintained and valued and cared for. If you're going to treat men like they're tools, you better treat them like they're the best damn tool you've ever had, because they are. And yet that is lost. And instead women are treating men as if they're, ironically, trophies. Or a golden hammer, if you will. A beautiful, shiny hammer. And instead of actually looking at this system that they've crafted and recognizing it's not working for them. And it's hilarious to me that women can see the system that they are facilitating. They're seeing the system that they are participating in, and they're blaming men. It's your fault. Your pictures aren't good enough. You're not handsome enough. You're not trying hard enough. You aren't doing enough. But it doesn't work. Because even when those men do everything right, you still don't end up married to those guys. Vast majority of you, at least. There might be a few. There might be some of you, rolled the dice, got lucky. But that's all you did. You got lucky. You didn't curate a relationship from actual effort and critical analysis and talking to someone and learning about them. He was handsome and he just so happened to be all right. He was handsome and he just so happened to be nice. He was handsome and he just so happened to have enough sex with you to where you're like, I don't want to have sex with anyone else. That's what happened. It's not a sustainable system. And again, I keep seeing women trying to make this system work and suggesting luxury nonsense instead of looking at the root, the brick and mortar, and be like, okay, listen, in principle, this is a bad system. In principle, relating to the system of having men advertise themselves as pretty objects that have a lot of money or are just wallets for women to use is not good. It's not good for them. It's not good for women, because women are awful mate selectors, for one. And for two, men just aren't pretty creatures. We're just not pretty. We're just not. Because we have to actually facilitate the creation of the world. We can't just sit around and look nice. We actually have to do something. We actually have to produce something. We actually have to be. So we can't just be pretty. We can't just spend all our nonsense on luxury nonsense, because we have to create the luxury for the women. That's what's going on. And to me, it's like this. Again, you're focusing on trying to make a broken system work. And it really doesn't. And the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. It's not working. That's why you have to keep tweaking and telling them they have to keep trying. It's not working. When will you guys realize it doesn't work? Goodness. So anyway, that's going to be about the end of it for this video. It's probably a little bit longer than I suspected it to. But, I still think that it's important to talk about this stuff. So that being said, I certainly hope you guys got something out of today's video. And if you did, go ahead and click the like button. And shoot, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. As always, you guys have yourselves a great day. I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.